Good evening and good weekend all. Ira Epstein with your weekend metal market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for Friday, and we're now at the 6th of May, 2022. I want to wish every mother out there a happy Mother's Day. Go kiss your mom. I wish I had mine near me. To make a long story short, what a crazy week. Now, I had a couple of issues this week in putting out these free videos on the front page of our website. I was gone one day, just couldn't do anything yesterday. One of the other days, something wrong. Okay, they're free. I'm not beating myself crazy for free videos. Understand that. My subscriber videos, the paid, I beat myself crazy. It will take an act of God or some computer system breaking that we can't fix for them not to go out. Okay, a little bit different. My loyalty lies there for the paid people because they are the ones laying out the cash, and it's them that keep these going. So when I don't get these, I apologize, but I'm not going to beat myself crazy. I work 12 to 14-hour days and enough. All right, let's talk about the market and the metals. What's been going on? You are fighting rising interest rates. You are fighting a rising dollar. Yes, the dollar's down at the end of the day, but look at the price. Look at the price of the euro. You're at 105. Look at the price of the British pound. You're at 122.76 on the low today. These are cheap. So the headwind there is for the dollar. Now, what the dollar has going for it, of course, is the war in Ukraine, but more the inflation story. But as rates go up, the dollar goes up in all the central banks. Let me repeat that again. All the big boy central banks raise rates. That is a big headwind on the gold. When the copper comes alive, it'll be for what reason do you think? It'll be because China has said this wave of COVID is over and the zero tolerance, they're lifting it, and businesses, you can go back to work, blah, blah, blah. They are killing themselves in the world in the zero tolerance policy. They are ridiculous in the sense that we know their vaccines don't work. Otherwise, they would be giving everybody a vaccine and they wouldn't have to worry about zero tolerance. You can't stop the spread of COVID, but you can mitigate people dying and how bad the situation is. Science has proved it. Obviously, their science is no good, and obviously their measure is let's lock in 25 million people at a shot. Shanghai, Beijing. You can disagree with me. You can't disagree with the facts. That's what they do. And when they do it, they kill the whole supply chain issue. They kill the demand that they need for iron ore, for coal. I can go on and on down the list. Oil, it all goes. And the repercussion is right through it because between the U.S. and China, these are the two largest economies in the world. That's what you're facing. When we take a look at gold on a monthly chart, it is friendly. You have higher lows, higher highs. Your Bollinger Bands are these black lines. What's the importance? The market will trade within them 95% of the time. The big moves come after a market has consolidated. You narrow in the band, and then whichever way it's going to break out of it, that's the way it goes for quite a while. That's the history of how Bollinger Bands work. Well, you have a moderate. The word is a moderate consolidation here. It has a bullish bend to it. Momentum had gotten itself up. It's now flattened itself out. If the market rallies again, look for more resistance at 1958.80. I think the pros will buy this market if given the opportunity at 1824.20, and at 1752.80, I think they throw in the towel if you break that low. When you look at the weekly close, you're back down to neutral land. You've fallen all the way from 1985 back to 1892, closed a little bit under it, but for all purposes, that's the zone you're at. The chart here is not as good looking as the monthly. You can see how you've been slipping away. The pattern is one of a higher high and a lower low. That's not a trend. The market battleground is crystal clear. Each rally has been coming back, and you can see it, to that 18-week moving average of closes, trying to find its footing there, and the question is, can it do anything with it? Now, if it breaks again from here, the next big support's 1838.40. The Bollinger Bands, which a market will trade within 95% of the time, the resistance, 2017.30. That would be a beautiful upside target if something happened. And if it crashed through everything, 1766.80, which sort of ties in with that monthly chart that we were just looking at, numbers we don't want to see. When I look at momentum, it's down. So let's review. No trend, higher high, lower low, momentum still pointing down. Nobody has an edge that I can see. The gold-silver ratio is climbing, which means gold is stronger than silver, bearish for the silver market, and lo and behold, that chart doesn't look as good as gold, but it's also not in a trend. You have a higher high, lower low. You hit the upper Bollinger Band a series of times. Again, I'm going to repeat it. This is where the newscasters are the most bullish. Each time you turn on the news and it's there, this is going, look at these metals, because that's their job. It's not that they're not bright. They are bright. But their job is to report the news in an interesting way. And I used to fall for it. My favorite newscaster is a guy long gone from news called Tom Brokaw. And it was only because the internet wasn't around. And if he would say, oh, the market's taking off, I knew to go short. I know you don't believe that. It is true. And I looked at all those things when I was younger. I've been doing this. Frankly, I began watching charts when I was 15 years old. I was on the finance club in high school. And I became a broker in '69. I'm still going strong. I'm not going anywhere. But you learn these things. Well, all that's happened now is the newscasters get the information faster, but they're going to do the same thing. They're going to hype it up there. They're going to hype it on the downside. You got to walk away from that. Listen to the facts they're reporting more than the sound of their voice. In the copper, okay, you're down here. I had been the biggest bull you've run into in copper. It was my number one trade for this year until Shanghai. Once they started telling the news they're going to go to zero tolerance, I told my traders, I said, you can't take cities of this size, shut them down, and think you're going to have copper demand or oil demand. You're not. Oil, they're buying 1.5 million barrels a day less than they were before. That's a big amount less. Well, you can see how the market reacted to it. So now you're down to the Bollinger Band. And I know you're going to tell me, well, Ira, then that tells me each time it's hit it, the market's bounced away. I am going to tell you that. I'm also going to tell you that's not a reason to go long. It is plenty of reason not to be short anymore. Very big difference in my perspective of it. I think you have to wait and see how the market's going to play out. Here too, platinum. I think platinum would have popped here between Russia, the war and all, and maybe you don't get so much palladium platinum out of them at this point. The problem is, who's using it? Well, China buys an awful lot of it. We in America use it in our different engines. You know, the palladium market is the real one that we want more of. And what's the problem with it? Well, we can't build as many cars. So you don't need as much. Well, that need means that the mines that are putting it out, if they keep going, they got to be storing it. I can go on and on. It's not a friendly situation to get the economies rolling again. And believe it or not, it starts with China lifting the COVID non-tolerance policy. Once they lift it, things start picking up one more time. You don't have to agree with me on it, but it's obvious. Okay, in the dollar, 7 weeks in a row up. I've seen 9. Not much more I can say. So this is your battleground that is hurting the gold and holding it back. The dollar just reigns supreme for every reason. You're not going to hear talk anymore about quarter-point hikes for a long time. Fed Chair Powell told you that. The new norm is 50. And it'll stay that way, possibly even after July when they get a 2-month summer break and then come back. Why would they suddenly go to 25? Unless inflation magically, and this is what the Fed chair said, it could just on its own start slipping down. Well, if the Fed at that point thinks the two are really going to converge, then they'll back off. I don't see that just yet, but that could be the story there. Now, what keeps all this going for you is the fact that my paid subscribers are carrying this for you. Join them. I make this ridiculously cheap. Even when I lose people because we're in a bear market now, subscribers that go, Ira, it's a bear market. I got to wait for the market to be better. I'm just not going to watch things right now. What's the difference? It's not expensive. You'll get enough bull plays. If you're only a buyer, I promise you there's always a bull somewhere. I look for them. I rotate them. So I record at 5:30 in the morning the futures, and I give specific, buy here, sell there, do this, unlike here talking the generalities, and I back it up at 9 o'clock in the morning. These are Central Time. I start on the spiders, the ETFs, and the stocks. I rotate, all right? I'm going to rotate more now that we're in clean-cut bear markets so that you get the news. So we start with all the futures. We're going to cover all these categories. We back them up in all these categories of the ETFs. We rotate them for you, and you get a full picture. You get a picture of the news. You get a picture of what the markets are looking at, where to go with them, and how to go with them. So how do you work with this, and how do you find out more? And just look at it. Just take your cursor, move it right up here. It'll take you right to the area when you click it on our website, which is under the research area at www.iraepstein.com. In the meantime, mamas, happy Mother's Day. I'll see you all next week.